I'm Michelle Lang-RAYMOND, and I am a playwright. I wrote the original script for this year's Beyond Teen Summer Musical 2021. I honestly started writing scripts because I founded a teen performance group years ago, but I couldn't find anything that my kids would perform. My kids were all, at the time, Black kids or kids of color, and it was a Christian youth group, and I wanted them to be able to perform stuff, but we couldn't find anything that that was meaningful for them, either as kids of color or that was like a non-corny storyline. And so I honestly started writing scripts because I couldn't find them. And that was, 1995, so you do the math. I don't know, I looked like, I'm so young, but it's a long time ago. I think, one, I want to tell genuine stories. And again, I started writing because we couldn't find genuine stories. A lot of times narratives all end like the story has to be wrapped in a nice bow, or everybody gets fixed, or everybody gets saved, or everybody has some kind of happy ending. And so I think I started thinking, how do you tell a more genuine, authentic story? Even though you do want there to be some kind of triumph in the story, that's not always true life. And so I feel like I started writing, and what makes me good at writing is because I try to tell genuine stories. I think also having a command of language and a command of social content, so that you're not telling the same story over and over, but you're actually being able to write new stories, but new stories in modern contexts. And so I think those are a couple of things that make me good at it. When I'm writing a play, a lot of times it starts off with me just writing down what's the main point, right? So no, some people they just start writing lines. They just start putting words into characters' mouths. For me, I try to write down the main point, because if I don't do that, then the story can just go anywhere. And sometimes that's good, because you sometimes want to just write organically, because you don't want to be driven by a point. Sometimes you want to just write the characters and see what the point becomes. But usually I'll have a thought, like I'll have a point I want to make, and I'll write that point down so that whenever I start developing the characters, I don't lose sight of what I intend for the point to be, but also keeping room and keeping space for that point to be able to change. Because if the story is going to be moving, then it has to move me first as a writer. And so if it moves me to change what that main point was, that's okay. But usually it starts off, what's the point I want to make, and who are the characters that can say this point? If I were to give a writer some advice, it would be to write a lot. Like, write a lot. One, because you don't know your own voice when you only write once. It allows you to see what your own voice sounds like, but it also allows you to learn how to cultivate characters, and characters that are unique, and you're not just playing the same notes over and over. So one, I would say just write a lot. And two, share your stuff. A lot of times we artists, we get real sensitive about our stuff. And so we like write it or we create it, and then we hold on to it until we think it's perfect. But the truth is, the best work that I've ever done, I allowed myself to be vulnerable, shared it with people, honestly listened and received whatever the feedback was, and changed it or developed it or adjusted it. And so I would say share it early, share it often, and write as much as you can. I would also say pay attention to the world around you. Sometimes I think when you don't exercise a gift, you sort of do it with the mind that you had 20 years ago, or with the world that existed 20 years ago, as opposed to the world that exists right now. I really believe in the arts. I really, truly believe in the arts. And I also believe in youth and leadership development. And I believe in programs like Beyond Teen Summer Musical, because I believe engaging kids with the arts allows us to tap into a part of them that doesn't get tapped into when you're in your regular academic or work kind of environments. I think the arts allow all of us to sort of tap into a part of ourselves that is liberating in a way that not very many other things in life are, and I really mean that. I think the arts are divine. I think the arts are a spiritual gift that God gave us that we ought to utilize as often as possible. And so I believe in programs like this that help kids develop through a different sort of portal of access. And I also believe that as these programs happen, kids learn to discover who they are and what their opportunities are, what the possibilities are, in a way that just doesn't often happen in their regular school day or their regular school life. And then watching kids encourage each other to be their best, to bring their best, to get better every day. Of course, we as the directors, we're gonna push them, we're gonna push them, we're gonna push them. But over time, they'll start to push each other in a positive way. And that's so completely against the narrative that kids are against each other, or that they're cliquish, or that they're not a village, and that you don't get to be a part of the village until you're a grown-up. What happens here is we actually teach kids, or give kids an opportunity to be a village now in a way that I think is going to follow them for the rest of their lives.